I started working with a client up in Northern California, Carrie Condi. Carrie will be here tomorrow. And at the time, I don't know, this was 5 years ago or 7? How many?
7.
7. She was consistently doing 50 to 60 million a year in production and plateaued. Couldn't get past that mark. And as we were talking, it came to light that her life partner is Jonathan Lack.
I was just her boyfriend at that time.
My boyfriend, all right. And Jonathan consulted with a lot of small businesses. And a book. The title of the book was what?
Plan to turn your company around in 90 days.
Planning to turn your company around in 90 days. And it was targeted at companies in
distress.
Like all of you. And this is the perfect book for real estate. So I read the book, much to his what?
Surprise. And delight.
And I say, everything in this book lines up perfectly with what, how to treat real estate as a business.
After he called me at 11 o'clock at night and he said, "Hey, I just finished your book."
And the thing about Jonathan, all business. And so I said to Carrie, you need to hire him to come in and run your business. And she did. And Jonathan helped take that business to over 200 million. Running the back end. And now he's worked with some of the top agents in the country. Some really big teams, some really big producers. And what Jonathan does is he goes there. He goes in. He sits there for 2 weeks at a time or longer. And he's interviewing everybody on the staff. He's looking at every process, every system, getting into the weeds. And again, he's done this for a dozen or so really elite groups. And so, again, he has a very unique perspective. He's not a sales guy, not what he does. He's an operations guy. And this may be to your surprise, you're actually what? Running a business. I know that's news. And what I want Jonathan to do today is really talk about, again, under this theme of doing less more, what do you need to focus on? What's most important? So Jonathan, they're all yours.
So, wake up. So, I was sitting in the back. I pulled out my phone after I checked the sports scores. I said, I'm the last speaker of a really good conference, and I'm sure people are brain dead. How am I going to get these folks to get that second burst of energy to go one more hour to hear something that's totally different perspective than what you're used to hearing, being in the world of real estate. It said don't show any slides and be controversial. Well, I got slides, but here's what the bottom line is, and there's going to be a lot of bottom lines. Most of y'all and most agents are a mile wide, inch deep. Okay, it's not a great statement, right? That's when we say that, that's not very aspirational. You're chasing possibilities instead of probabilities. I'm a probability person, and I'm going to tell you why you should be through this talk. And you can't scale chaos. Okay, so I think the key with Carrie was after 6 months of working with her, and I treated her like a regular client. I wrote a proposal, charged her what I charge everybody else, and I told Steve, because he had already been talking to Carrie, and then he said, "Hey, I got a real estate client for you. Would you work in real estate?" I didn't know it was her until he told me. I said yes already before he told me who it was. And then I said, "Okay, well, I have one caveat. I got to treat her like anybody else. And any of y'all that have worked with me, I can't see very well because of the lights in front of me, know that I don't tell you what you want to hear. I tell you what I think, because that's what you get paid for. That's what I get paid for. And most of you have people working for you that are telling you what they think you want to hear. That's not what I do." So I said that to him, and then I said it to her. So I think the key is, and it puts all this in context, because you're tired at the end of the day, what do I do with all this information? I'm going to give you a framework. I basically said to Steve after 6 months, I don't have a clue what she does every day, and I don't know anything about real estate. I haven't learned anything really about real estate, but I know what she's not doing, and I can double her business because I know what she's not doing, and she's not running it like a business. And I've been working with her and some of y'all and others that I'll show you in a second. I've been in real estate now 7 years, 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, hadn't sold a single home. Hadn't helped anybody buy a home. Okay. But I'm helping people work smarter to sell more, to make more money, whether it's the top line. I mean, my tagline is top line growth, bottom line results. So top line growth, bottom line results. I spoke at the Compass 100 conference, I think it was 8 weeks ago. Congratulated, just like this. I congratulated everybody there. The top 100 producing clients in the country. Awesome, right? And then I asked everybody, real simple. I didn't ask for hands. I didn't want to embarrass anybody. How many people would be in the room if it was the top 100 most profitable companies, agents in the country? Probably fewer people would have to leave the room. How many people would still be in the room if they were the top 100 happiest and healthiest clients in the country? Probably a little more would have to leave out of the room. How many people in the room were not texting people at the office telling them what to do or asking them if they do it, because can the company run without them for 2 days when they leave? Probably a little more would have to leave the room. And how many of them in the room would their last sale be their last dollar? Okay. Now, if you answered positively to all that, then you don't need me. But if you didn't answer positively to all that, and if y'all can't answer that in your own world, you need to think about what I'm talking about today, because you're running a business. And yeah, I'm a business guy. I'm not an agent. I don't want to think like an agent. And I'm going to tell you that I think your industry is 20 years behind the times. And I've worked in 14, 15 other industries, and I learned best practices from different industries. And I think real estate needs to learn from other industries. So here's the ride, okay? Steve mentioned, I think that's 2013. I don't know where the 3 went. That was the book that he read, okay? Then Steve and I and Dana Green wrote the Real Estate Team Playbook in 2023. And then I took that first book and then rewrote it for real estate agents. Because Steve and I have been talking twice a week for the last 7 years. Okay. When I met Steve, one reason why we hit it off was he obviously, I was a fan of his playing for the Dolphins, co-captain in the Super Bowl, and he played for the greatest football coach ever, most winningest coach, Don Shula. So when we met, we were talking about, I was kept asking him about Don Shula's management strategy. How did he coach y'all? I wanted to know about that because I want to build companies, help run companies like Don Shula ran the Miami Dolphins. Okay, so that's kind of how we philosophically hit it off. And I said to him, and I show you some other teams that I work with around the country. It's bullshit that most of these teams say they're a team. I mean, I'm a jock. I'm not like Steve Jock, but I'm a gym rat. I know what a team is, and I know what a shit show is. Okay. And just because you got a lot of people that surround you every day doesn't mean you have a team. Okay. It does not mean you have a team. It means you got a lot of people around you every day. And I grew up old school Texas. Everybody played football or basketball. I ran track. I know what a team is. I'm one of 6 kids. I know what dysfunctionality is also. Okay? So the only point in putting this up here, these other teams, is the bigger you are, the more problems you have. There is nothing you've seen, nothing you're experiencing on your team that I haven't seen through these teams and through other folks. It doesn't mean I have the perfect solution because every team is different. Every business model is different. But it means, 60, 70%, I'm not shocked by it. We work through those issues. Now, today, most of y'all, I'd say 99% of people in this industry are great at tactics, great at execution. You don't know what strategy is because the industry doesn't teach you what strategy is. Okay. This is an industry full of salespeople. That's what agents are, salespeople. You're not financially oriented. You're not operations oriented. You're not marketing oriented. You're not strategically oriented. These are skill sets that people in other companies have, people that do nothing but those skills. And you're running a business like driving a bus on a unicycle because you know how to sail. And in this industry, because of the brokerage model, is geared up, not for teams. It's geared up for the average agent doing 4 deals or 5 deals a year. That's the model. So if you have you're doing more deals than that, your brokerage is not tailoring their business for you. You're feeding into their model, and their model is for 4 or 5 agents to do 4 or 5 deals a year. So they don't cover all the other issues. If you're doing 100 deals, 50 deals a year, 100 deals a year, 200 deals a year, they're not set up for that. So they're not hitting the pain that you're feeling when you're growing that size. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, because it's a different gig. Okay, now, so strategy is what forest, you're chopping wood. Just use the analogy of wood chopping. You all chop wood. You sell houses every day, or you buy houses every day. You're chopping wood. Strategy is not how to chop the wood. It's what forest you're going into to chop the wood. Why do you want to go into that forest versus this forest or that forest? You have to think about that. Okay? And in real estate, what market segments are we targeting? Why? I meet people all the time, some of these Compass 100, where's your niche? I sell all over. Like that's a badge of honor. Okay, let's see what happens on the end of the session. Not this session, but it's my session working with them. They're going to realize how stupid that is. Okay. What price points are your sweet spots? What's your ideal client? What makes your brand different? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, and tactics are, okay, how do you chop the wood once you're in the forest? Okay, y'all know how to do that. I'm not telling anybody in 7 years how to buy or sell. Not only did I not buy or sell a house, I didn't tell anybody, never told anyone how to buy or sell a house. But I am telling people how to run their business more efficiently. So here's the problem when we say you're a mile wide, inch deep. You think more leads equals more income. You think more activity is growth. You think if you're busy, that means you're productive. Okay, you've heard this today one way or the other. And deep, going narrow and deep and being strategic is which client is my best client. Okay, if you don't know your best client, the best type of client you haven't thought about it. The only reason, and then I say, well, what's your second best client? Because most of us don't have enough of the first best client. So you have to take the second best client. And you go, well, what's the third best client? Because if you don't have enough of client number 1 and you don't have enough of client number 2, you need client number 3. And then what clients do you don't want? That's my deal. What do you not want? That's what Steve is saying all day. Cut the ones you don't want. Okay. Depth is playing the odds, not playing your feelings. Okay. Y'all, as an industry, are not metric driven. Okay. Well, if I use Steve's language, I would say, get over it. You have to get over the fear of numbers. Okay. You have to. If you're going to be in business another 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you have to be comfortable with numbers because you're running a business. You don't have to be an expert in numbers. Go get a tutor, go get consultants, but you can't be afraid to look at your P&L, your metrics, and all kinds of metrics. You've got to get over that because you're living in the digital age, and we're going to get into that in a second. Strategy equals math. Psychology is emotion. Okay? Most agents default to hope because it's exciting. It's like I used to tell my kid, he wanted to be in the NBA, and he was watching the NBA and a game, and I said, let's go practice. He was about 10 years old. I said, Noah, let me tell you, my son's name is Noah, let me tell you the difference between a fantasy, hope, and a dream. Fantasy is you're sitting on the couch and you're going to take a nap and you're going to dream about being in the NBA. It's a great dream. Super. You wake up, you're back to reality. A dream is you're going to get your ass outside and you're going to practice with me for 2 hours. And it's a dream. It may come true, it may not, but at least you're working on it. Big, big difference. I think a lot of y'all are just hoping instead of dreaming. Statistics, as we said, are humbling. Odds feel restrictive. No, you play the odds. And discipline for a lot of y'all is uncomfortable. Agents, in my opinion, you're the most, in the positive way, the most independent people. You love that independence. You love it. Okay? That's the nice way of saying it. You know what the biggest kryptonite in real estate is? What's that? No. Lack of accountability. Pisses me off. It's, you know, and I'm writing a book, OFP, Own It, Fix It, Prevent It, How to Build a Culture of Accountability. That is the biggest kryptonite in this business. Everybody needs to be accountable. Steve is saying, I mean, what is Steve really saying when he says everybody needs a coach? I mean, I interpret it, you can interpret it a lot of different ways, but one way of interpreting it is you need to be accountable to somebody. Now, if you're of faith, you're accountable to the big person. If you're married, you're accountable to your partner. If you're, you know, we all have different people or issue, you know, ways of being accountable in our life. If you're not being accountable, you are going to pay the price one way or another. You're just bullshitting yourself. You need to be accountable to something. At least be accountable to yourself if you're not going to be accountable to somebody else. And I think a lot of people in the real estate industry, low barriers to entry, you don't have a boss. A client can fire you, but they don't kick you out of the industry. You don't like being accountable. Okay. What's the bottom line? It's really this. If you get one thing out of this today and you go, what is this guy talking about? Write this down and keep asking Steve or me or anybody else 1,000 times till you get it. Alignment equals leverage, and leverage equals a greater chance for your return on investment. Okay? If you're not aligned, you don't have leverage. And it's hard to make money if you don't have leverage. I mean, it's that fundamental, and it's solid rock. You can take it to the bank. It's not bullshit. It will be here in 5 years, 50 years, 100 years, no matter what happens with AI. If you're not aligned, you don't have leverage. You don't have leverage, you have a harder chance of getting a return on your investment. Okay? Anybody not understand that has a question, because ask. You know anybody that's ever gotten a divorce? They weren't aligned. They weren't aligned. They didn't have leverage in that relationship, and they didn't get a return on that investment of that relationship. That's a simple one right there. If anybody a high fee, someone's charging 4% here. Okay, are you aligned with a builder that wants a discount at 2%? Not aligned. You're not going to get leverage with that person. Now, you make money at 4% and they make money at 2%, but you're not a good partner for each other. Okay? Doesn't mean you can't be successful. Four Seasons is successful. Walmart is successful. You can't be both. You're not aligned. It doesn't work. You can't be all things to all people. You can't. Chick-fil-A is the example I use a lot. Chick-fil-A, I used to say, everybody, when I learned this industry, say, oh, you're in the real estate industry. Then I said to Carrie, you're not in the real estate industry. You're in the relationship-based business. It's all about building relationships. And then last year, I go, nah, we got to take it to the next level. It's really in the business of managing expectations. We are in the service business, which is about managing expectations. So you have to set the right expectations to be able to manage it. Anyone eaten at Chick-fil-A? Okay. Anybody ever got a hamburger at Chick-fil-A? Anybody ever got a pizza? A beer? Not on the menu. They tell you if it's on the menu, we kick ass. If it's not on the menu, don't ask because it ain't happening. What is your menu? Do you know what your menu is? Because a lot of you are all over the place. Oh, my menu is anywhere in LA. I sell everywhere. Okay. That I can't help you if you don't realize that being a mile wide, inch deep is not working to your advantage. Okay. Now, if you're not aligned in business, I use the example to this lady about divorce, it's just simple. But if you're not aligned in business, and a lot of your businesses are not aligned and you're feeling stressed and whacked out, I think there are two 200,000-foot fundamental reasons why you're not aligned. You're not aligned because you're not adapting to the digital era. We are in the digital era, and you better know what is happening, because when you see the stock market and you see 6 companies and NVIDIA, $1 trillion, and the rich, the mega getting mega, separating from the pack, it's because of this digital era. And you need to know how that affects your business, because if you don't adapt, you will be out of business. You will be out of business. Any company on the planet that doesn't adapt to what I'm saying will be out of business, I guarantee you. And the second big issue is you have a misalignment of your goals in your operations. So when I said, oh, those people divorced, well, one person wanted to spend $1 gazillion every month and somebody else was cheap. Well, they weren't aligned. Their goals weren't aligned. Your company goals aren't aligned with your operations, with your stakeholders. That creates stress. I can never, if I'm a 4% agent, make someone who wants a discount happy. You can never do that. So if you try, you have a misalignment. You already lost. So you need to know. When Steve introduced me to Chris Voss, everybody heard of Chris Voss? Everybody know the favorite of the fool? Okay, I thought that was really cool. But then I took it a different direction, and this is the direction I'm going to take it. I didn't contradict Chris. I didn't disagree with him, but I use it in a different way. What's your name? Yeah, Denise, sorry. It's the lights. I don't want to go have a meeting with Denise to sell her consulting services and find out and try to figure her out in the meeting whether I'm the favorite or the fool. Why? I want to know before I even take the meeting, what are my odds of being the favorite or the fool? I want to control it. I don't want to figure it out, a decision that she's already made. I want to enhance my probability before I even go into the meeting. Okay? That's what strategy is. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I wrote this in my book in 2013. I was probably already dated. It's dated today. And if you don't get this, it shows you how far behind you are. And everybody know the term analog world? Okay. That's when you went into a store and you just bought a product and they didn't care who you are and they didn't ask for your email and you never got, it's pre-internet. You just bought products and they never knew who you were. They were clients or product focused. Most of the agents you have on your teams are transaction focused. They're just doing the deal. Okay. I think you have to be, I know, in this world that we're living in, you got to own the client. The buzzword is LTV, lifetime value of a client. So when you get a new client, you should be thinking 5 deals for the next 20 years. You shouldn't just be thinking about the deal that you don't even know what if they're buying or selling right now. You're building a relationship for the rest of your career with that person. Okay? That's being client centric. And then you have to be process driven. There are too many agents. The one reason why agents are stressed out, Carrie taught me this term, her phrase is, everybody has their superpowers and everybody has their kryptonite. Well, what happens is, it's that analogy I use when somebody is riding a unicycle, driving a bus on a unicycle. If you overplay your hand because of your personality and et cetera, when it's a financial issue, when it's an operational issue, it's a marketing issue, you're pressing because that issue isn't going to, that skill doesn't solve the problem at hand. So the more tools you have in the toolbox, and the better you are using those tools, you can solve more problems. Does that make sense? If you only had a hammer at your house, you couldn't solve as many home problems if you had a screwdriver, a wrench, et cetera, et cetera. It's the same in business. The more tools you can learn and know when to use them, then you're taking pressure off of yourself because you're distributing the weight on another tool that's the most appropriate tool, not using a hammer when you're trying to use glass. Okay, I did that as a kid, so I know that. And then becoming less impulsive. Every agent I met, I interview staff in confidence. Oh, they're geniuses. They're great. They come up with big ideas. What's the big idea about selling real estate? The genius in selling real estate is you do what you love to do, you make the money you want to make, you take care of your family, your personal goals, and professional goals, and your clients love you. That's genius. Okay. But you're going to come up with a different idea that 1.5 million agents haven't ever used before to sell a house or to buy a house. You don't need big ideas. The big idea is doing the little things consistently day in, day out. That's what makes people great. That's what makes Don Shula great. Little things, fundamentals, day in, day out. So using metrics to drive your business is critical, and most of you don't. You look for what your ratings are, but you don't look to understand the market that you're in or your competitors. Now, real estate, it's been said all day, it's a repeat and referral business. It has to be. Not because it's real estate, because we're living in the digital era. That's why it's too expensive for any business out there to go spend all the time in the world to catch a fish and have it come right out of the net. In telecom, they used to call it churn rate. What is your churn rate? And most of y'all have high churn rate. You get a client and you lose a client. And I guarantee you, I haven't met an agent yet that didn't lose a client because they forgot to stay in touch with that client. They got burned. And all those people on the top 100, if they're honest, they'll tell you, I lost a client because I wasn't in touch with them. I didn't really have a strategy for repeats. That's a nice buzzword. That's a nice thing to say. If you can't tell me what your strategy is and show me who's doing what for repeat and who's doing what for referral, you don't have a strategy. You're just repeating a buzzword. Second, you got to run it like a traditional business. And as I've said, you can't scale chaos. Now, where do you start? You define your goals. When I work with folks, I didn't put it in the book, but I'm adamant about it today. And I said it to a Compass 100 new client this morning. I need to know what your personal, professional, and financial goals are. Because if you don't know that, I can't help your business. It's like Steve saying, if you don't buy into his philosophy, he can't help you. Okay. I can't help anybody with a moving target. How are you going to help a boat run more efficiently if the captain of the boat doesn't know where they want to take the boat? He's just going to go in a circle? Your personal goals are critical. because you're going to get resentful if you don't protect them. And I know a lot of agents get resentful because they're not doing what they want to be doing. Well, what is that? And they can be different 5 years ago than they are today and 5 years from now. But what are they for next 1, 3, 5 years? You like to work out, you like faith-based, you like to spend time with the family, you like to go on vacation. It doesn't matter what it is, it's your goals. It's your personal, that makes you who you are. And if you live with somebody, you better get consensus with them. Otherwise, you're not aligned, right? You got to have that. That's homework for the holidays. Good time to be doing it, okay? Second goal, what are your professional goals? Why do you sell real estate other than making the paycheck? What gives you satisfaction being in this service business? You could sell in other industries, right? Tech is a lot hotter than real estate right now. Wealth management would love to have a trusted advisory people. You could go sell in accounting, law firms, why this industry? You need to know that because you're going to have to remind yourself on those bad days why you're doing it, right? Kobe Bryant used to practice 2 hours after a game. Where the other guys were partying, he was working out after a game that they won. Why? He had certain goals. Okay. And then financial goals. You got to know your numbers and you got to know your financial goals. Now, how you get there to start, in addition to those exercises, because those are all personal, is with your business, you got to do 5 fundamental audits. Sales audit. Do you know every single deal you've ever done? Is it in a spreadsheet? Do you know the address, the neighborhood, the closing date, and the closing price? And do you know why they bought or sold? If you don't know that, you are leaving money on the table because this is a repeat and referral business. There's no way you can remember every deal you've ever done. There's just no way. If it's not documented, then you're not going to remember it. Now, you remember Julie Jones, but if you may not remember the property and the details of the property, so you know Julie was a client, but you forgot what property you helped her with. Or vice versa. You remember 10 Main Street, but you don't remember the name of the client. You have to do that. And every client I've ever worked with, we've done it, including Carrie, learned something from her own data. It's her own data. And she learned something. And everybody else will learn something from your own data because you've never looked at it. I guarantee you've never looked at it. And you say, well, I use Compass Business Tracker. If you've been in business more than 6 years, then it doesn't have all your deals in there. It doesn't have your off-market deals in there. It doesn't have the nuances of why they bought or sold. Okay. When I sort why people bought or sold, I start to see patterns. Divorce. Oh, wow, you're pretty good, Carrie. You're dealing with a lot of divorce people. Estates. Oh, you're pretty good. We should go after estate attorneys. Relo. Oh, if you're in a market where relo, you better go talk to HR relo people. Okay. Knowing why people do that is telling you more metrics than the local chief economist because you're on the front lines. They're getting data from you. Yes, you're getting it back for them on the macro, but data helps make good decisions. Once you know where your sweet spot is, and we have a concept, green, yellow, red. Green areas are areas where 40 to 60% of your sales should be. 2 or 3 neighborhoods, not 20 neighborhoods. Then that you spend money, time, energy, prestige. I mean, you fight for it. We go find out the competitors in that market. So you do a competitive analysis. And then you find out how many sides were there every year for the last 4 or 5 years. Who's dominating, who's not dominating. Nobody dominates in this industry. Okay. I've done 120, 30 market assessments. Between 75 and 90% of all deals for the last 4 years in your neighborhood are done by one agent one time. You are not competing if you want to grow with the top agent in your neighborhood. You're not. Sometimes you go up against them. But if you want to grow, you're not stealing market share from number 1 or number 2. You're stealing it from the 80% that don't know what they're doing in that neighborhood. Okay? 3, brand audit. The more people that touch your brand, the more diluted your brand is. I think half of you are running teams. You want to have a heart attack? Do the Truman Show on a Sunday, meaning pretend you could listen to all of your agents at an open house, working that open house, and you would have a cardiac arrest. Okay, because they're not representing you. They're not even representing themselves very well. That dilutes your brand. Okay, you got an outside marketing agency, an outside SEO agency, the more people that touch your brand, the more diluted it is. Financial audit, you got to know your numbers. You're in this business to make money. Okay, most of you, if Trump said tomorrow, you do not have to file taxes ever again in my administration. You're just going to pay a sales tax, and you don't have to file taxes. I guarantee you 90% of you would not do your bookkeeping. You're certainly not looking at it because you're only doing it for one reason. Your accountant says, I can't file your taxes if you don't use QuickBooks to give me the stuff to file the taxes. You're not looking at it monthly. You're not looking at your cash flow. You're not running your business on numbers. You're not. Most of you are not. That's an opportunity. And then market trends. How well do you know in your best neighborhood what drives the economy in that neighborhood? Okay, there's more information on real estate than any other industry. The press loves real estate, and it gives all these national trends, which means absolutely nothing for your area of sales. Interest rates go up. Who gives a shit if you're an ultra luxury and everybody's paying cash? You're focused on the stock market, right? If you are a first-time home buyer and you're in more modest communities, Houston, Raleigh, Denver, wherever, where it's an average price is $500,000 to $1 million, you're following the interest rates, right? Because people are borrowing money. Are they in the tech sector? Are they lawyers? Are they seniors? What is the demographic of your area that is driving people selling or buying in your area? Do you know that information? Your title company and your brokerage should have a lot of that information. But if you don't look at it, then how are you really being the best trusted advisor that you could possibly be to tell the seller where the buyer is coming from? I don't think so. But if you do this, you will be better. And Steve was talking about how do you get better? You get better by doing this stuff. Now, I got 10 reasons why to do it. But I'm going to tell you the one reason if I use Steve's on a 4:30 on, what's the day, Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. It's one simple reason. You're going to get your ass kicked if you don't do this. Okay? If you don't do these things, you're not going to have alignment, you're not going to have leverage, and you're not going to hit your goals. Now, because someone is doing $200 million and you're doing 50, doesn't mean that person's happier. Doesn't mean they're making more money. Doesn't mean they have a succession plan. So it's irrelevant at the end of the day what each of you are doing compared to somebody else. The only thing that is relevant is what is your ROI on your personal, professional, and financial goals. How many of you ever run a 10K, half marathon or marathon? Anybody? Okay. All right. When I was younger, I did that, young and dumb, ran a bunch of marathons. I did the Disney Dopey with a guy. I only saw him 3 times in 6 years, was at the race. Every 2 years, we do the Disney Dopey, Goofy then Dopey. The last one we did was a 5K on Thursday, 10K on Friday, half marathon on Saturday, and a full marathon on Sunday. Now you're out there, you got 30,000 people, right? It's exciting, you feel everybody. Believe me, when I'm running mile 10, I can't see anybody. I'm taking one step, the next step, the next step. Do I see the other 24,999 people? No. Because all I care about is getting through with this damn race. I'm not going to quit, and I got to get finished. I think that's the way it is in life. You go to these meetings, you listen to people, and you're chasing each other, which is stupid because everyone has a different pace, everyone has a different goal. different ambitions, different constraints. Run your race, your life race. And that's why a lot of agents, I think, are miserable, even though they're successful, because they're out egoing everybody on how much they sell or what do they do. Who gives a shit? It's what your personal, professional, and financial goals are. So that's why I start with there. The business part is less difficult than the first part. Okay? You do this. Now here's some other reasons. It clarifies where you put your effort. Steve said do less to do more. That's what it shows. Okay? If you're doing 30% sales in one neighborhood and 1% in another neighborhood, hello? Anybody home? That's what the data is going to tell you. Align decisions with facts, not feelings. I can't tell you how many times Kerry said, oh, that guy kicks ass, is so good. I go, Kerry, I just looked him up. Dude's got 2% market share. Nobody who has 2% market share is the king of any neighborhood. Okay? You're not. You can act like it, but you're not. Okay? 2%. You got 10%? You got 15, 20%? Okay, you're up there. 2%, you're making a great living, but you got, what, if someone has even 10% of the market, what do they not have? Plenty of room for y'all to come in. If that's your area, I don't care that they have 10%. If there's 90% left, I'm going to get my share. That's the way I talk to folks, and that's the way that y'all should look at it. Do you really know where it comes from, or are you walking around thinking it all comes here? No. Prevent reacting to noise and market panic. Happens a lot. The data is your friend. Most of you think you're afraid to look at it. I'll tell you why it's your friend. The market's been down a lot the last couple of years, right? In certain areas. If the market is down 50% and you're down 20%, did you have a bad year? You did pretty well. You outperformed the market. And I say to folks, if you're really good at what you do, and I'm sure everybody here is really good at what they do, and you're here to be better, you want to outperform the market. Let's do the reverse. The market's up 20%, and you're up 20%. It means you're average, right? Because that means that some people were higher than 20% and some people were lower, okay? So if the market's up 20%, I better be up 25, 30, 40%. I want to outperform the market. So in the difficult times, what you're trying to do, even if the units are down, and this is where the data helps, you want to capture more market share. You want to outwork people. You want to build your brand in the tough times when everybody else is quitting or doing a rope-a-dope, et cetera, so that when the market goes back up, you're going back up at a bigger volume. If you look at any recession in the U.S., real big ones, I think there's been 8 big ones in the last 60 years or 70 years, you will see that there were companies that came out of the recession stronger than in the recession because they used it as an opportunity and they kicked ass. The one reason why we kicked ass on Kerry's business during COVID, when everybody shut down in California, remember you couldn't sell for 3 months? There was 3 of us. We worked our asses off every day. Steve knows. We cleaned up the database. We did this. We did that. I go, Kerry, people are going to have to buy or sell at some point. Let's do the stuff you hadn't been doing for 20 years and catch up. That's what other companies are doing in recessions. They're figuring out. They don't go quit because nobody's calling. They're cleaning up the back office, getting ready for success and not worrying about failure. Okay, and preventing noise. We talked about build a plan that reinforces itself. Stop trying to win everywhere. Anybody ever had a client they wish they didn't have? Okay, so don't do that again. Okay, don't do that again. Equip yourself to lead clients instead of chasing them. I pick the clients that I want. I don't say that from an arrogant perspective. Okay, I work with a lot of agents. I know which agents like what I say, which agents don't. Okay, I don't want to babysit people. I don't want to be anybody's shrink. I do that for teams, but I don't want to do it one-on-one. I tell folks, I don't want you to waste your money, and I don't want you wasting my time. If you're not serious If you're not going to put in the work, I'm not the guy. Okay. What do you say to your clients in a tactful, professional way? Who are you willing to say no to? And who are you going to double down? You can't satisfy everybody, and not everybody's going to make you happy. So you're not going to, why go after somebody that you don't want repeat business from? Why go after somebody that you don't want someone just like them as a referral? If this gal's doing 4%, why should she work with a discount builder who's only going to tell other discount builders go work with her? She didn't want that. That's not her. That's stupid. Okay. Experienced into intention. What does that mean? Make your luck. I know this kid that got a big $40 million deal on TikTok, and he said, oh, I'm a TikTok guy. I go, well, tell me about the second deal, the third deal, the fourth deal. Never did it because he hit the lottery once. He didn't do it because of skill. He knew nothing about TikTok. He just threw shit out there and got lucky. One time. And guess what? Not in real estate anymore. Protect profitability and energy from distractions. Better know your financial goals. And 2, create a business you can scale deliberately. That means you got to know your model and what you're building. Go from there. Okay.
Let's open up to questions, Jonathan.
Okay.
Questions for Jonathan?
Are they asleep?
Is there a mic around? Caroline, you around?
There's a mic.
What time is it?
Hi, Jonathan. Margot
Hi.
Wallen.
I'm sorry, tell me your name again.
Margot Wallen from
Hello,
Seattle.
Margot. You were the greeter. You
Yes.
greeted me when I walked in.
I did. You needed lunch. Did you get some food? He didn't. I don't know if he got food.
No, I went into the kitchen to get it.
Okay, good.
What's your question?
My question is about the financial audit.
Okay.
What are some indicators or some, perfect, maybe summarize that, or if we can get that slide. I'm curious, what are the things, I'm a single solo agent. What should I be looking at besides just handing my taxes over to the person who does them every year and
Okay.
knowing that I have enough?
Just Steve and I talk about this all the time. People ask all the time. And here is the part reality of real estate. You are all agents, and forget about a geography for a second. That's about all most of you have in common is you're all agents. It doesn't go past that. Why? Because you each have different business models. I mean, there's 150 people in here. There's not 150 business models. But I'll bet you I could put you in 6 or 7 buckets pretty quickly and say there's 6 or 7 different business models here. Now, you said you're a solo agent. So that's a model. You could be a part-time solo agent. You could be a full-time solo agent. So that's 2 models. Okay. And then it depends. I mean, I'm giving you practical realities. Are you an LLC? Are you an S Corp? Are you a C Corp? There's, the tax rules are going to be different, right? Now, on a practical basis, if I'm a solo agent, I better know how much I need to live on every month and know you run 2 businesses. You run the household business. Where's Mark? Here?
They got up.
Oh, Sonnenthal got up. Okay. I talk to him all the time because he works for Sally Forster Jones Group, and I work as a client.
You missed your big
Hey,
chance.
Mark, I was just talking about you. Okay.
We just had a really big referral for you, but you were out of the room. Sorry.
Mark Sonnenthal, raise your hand. Okay, works for Sally Forster Jones, and I said this to Mark all the time, and I say it to other folks. Mark, you're running 2 businesses. You're running the household, and you're running your real estate. Anybody relate to that? Okay. Your household reality goes on a 30-day cycle, right? Anybody relate to that? Anybody have a car payment, mortgage payment, school payments, electric bill, phone bill, cell bill? Anybody relate to what I'm saying? 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. This real estate business doesn't give a rat's ass that you got bills due every 30 days, right? Anybody relate to that? Mark could meet someone tomorrow and the deal doesn't close for 3 years. Anybody ever had that? Could be 30 months, could be 3 months, could be 3 weeks, could be 3 days. He has no clue. Sometimes the client doesn't have a clue. So budgeting means for me is budget for the year, a whole year. Your must-haves, personal lives, then you do it with the business. What is the minimum that I have to have? What are my fixed costs for the business? Okay, no matter what the business does this year, I still have to pay rent if I'm paying rent, or I'm locked in. I got to have a cell phone. You can't be in real estate if you don't have a cell phone. So you're not going to cancel your cell phone bill. And you do that, that's your base case. And then you start saying, well, what have I done in the past where if I do X amount of deals, how much can I spend on marketing, or how much can I spend on bonuses, et cetera? You start doing high, medium, low scenarios to know what cash flow looks like. Okay, nobody really does this in real estate. You live off a deal to deal. And then you find out at the end of the year when the guy does your taxes whether you made money or not. It shouldn't be that way. Okay, and guess what? How many of you have more cash in the spring than you do in like November or December, right? Or July and August. It's cyclical. So you better budget for the whole year on your cash. And if you don't know how to do that, that's fine. But you have to ask that question and go to your bookkeeper or your accountant and ask for help. Okay. You go get an annual physical. You don't know how to fix all the tests that they're running, but you still went to the doctor to get the test. So you have to know the question, and the question is, what do I need to run this business? In part, based on what have I been doing in the past, tell me what I did in the past, and I can tell you whether that felt right or didn't feel right. That's a start. Now, I can't tell you what percentage to sell on marketing, because if you're doing repeat and referral marketing, you're going to spend more money on gifts than someone who is buying new leads. It's a different budget because the strategy is different. Okay. The key is for all of y'all, for all of us, I have to do it for myself also. Whatever you spend that dollar on, are you getting a return on it? Was it a good bet or was it a stupid bet? Now, if it's a stupid bet and you had no business doing it, but you're still in business, don't do it again. That's a red zone. Learn from it. You're smarter. You're better off. If it's a good bet and you missed it, like in sports and basketball, they have good misses. If you're underneath the basket, you're supposed to take the shot if you're wide open. Even if you miss it, you take it every time. Now you figure out how to get better at the bets that didn't pay off. It could have been the right bet. For instance, you came here, you made an investment coming here today, investment of time and money. The key is not how much you paid. The key is not how much splits you pay to your brokerage. And that's what man, I'm giving up all this money, all this money. No, it's the wrong mindset. The mindset is, how do I get a return on it? What am I not doing that I could be doing? Okay. I told Mark when he told me he was coming today, because we're going to a team dinner tonight. Mark, we ain't leaving until you meet 5 new people today, because you need a return on this, not just the knowledge, but networking. We're not leaving until you meet 5 new people. So I'll stay here all night until you meet 5 new people. Okay. So the point is, when you spend money in business, you need to know what your expected return is, not formulaically, generally speaking. That's a good start. That's the best I can give you right now. Who else has it? Yes.
So I'm noticing as my business has grown over the years, the percentage of profitability has decreased. Because you're outsourcing, you have to hire people, whatever. What do you recommend is kind of like a goal? Are you like 60% profit? Like I see this is like 40% profit.
Jonathan, repeat the question.
The question is she's doing, you're going to love this. She's doing more business and making less money. Well, you said your profitability is going down. If your business, no, less, but you're making less margin. Yeah.
I
Start off, you're just like 100% profitable. You're not like, I'm spending like $100 on photos. I don't know anything. And now I'm like spending $1,000 on photos. I have people working for me, and you're doing more deals. So each deal, you're making more money, but each deal you have more expenses. because you're out.
Well, you're making more revenue.
Okay.
That, like I said, the Compass 100, they make more
Top
revenue.
line, bottom line.
Okay.
Fat top line, skinny bottom line.
Now, what we're all striving for is to keep more of every dollar that comes in, up to a point. Okay, up to a point. What is that point? When it starts to piss you off that your personal goals are going down the tube. If you're not, you could make more money. Okay, everybody work about 60 hours a week. Easiest way to double your business, work 120 hours a week. Okay? You can't do that. You'll be either divorced, burned out, dead, or whatever. So at some point, you have diminishing returns on one of those goals. If you want to party all week and not work like half the agents that are on teams, then they shouldn't be surprised why they're not making any money. And if you're working 100 hours a week, you shouldn't be surprised why you're miserable with your personal goals.
Let me ask you, what's your question? You.
But I just answered your question.
What the number was.
There's no number.
What's your question?
I want to know what you're aiming for profitability percentage. Like, what are you aiming for your margin? What should you shoot for?
You have a different business model. I don't know your model. Okay, that's the answer. I could tell you that, okay, you should be making 30%, margin. Why? I just pull that out because
Here's what I can tell you. Most top agents are spending anywhere between 50 and 75% of their revenue in their business. So what does that tell you? They're not making any money. All right? It's ego. And the idea is, if I keep selling more, I'll make more money. It doesn't work that way. If you're not making money at this level, you're not going to make more money at that level. So as Jonathan said, you have to figure out what's it cost you to run your life. And you got to back into what you need to make this business worthwhile. This is classic. Teams. I'm going to pay a team agent 70% or 80% or 90%. Why? Because I want that production. What are you not getting? Any profit. It's pure ego. That's what this business is all about, ego. And so the real answer to your question is what? Lori, give it to her. What's the real answer? Charge more. Not working harder, same business, bigger margin. This is why I say to all of you, if you're charging 2.5%, you're basically running a break-even business. You might make a little bit, you might lose a little bit. It's basically break-even. At 3%, you start to make a little money. At 3.5%, now you can make some money. And at 4%, now you can make some real money. And when you don't know the numbers, part of why you don't charge what you charge because you don't understand the consequence. You don't understand when you're charging 2.5%, it's break even. You're just working to work. You look at the gross check and it's a big what? Number, but you're not taking into account what? All the money you spend.
That's right. So there's a difference between an answer and a solution, right? Maybe an answer, but may not be the right one. And what the answer is today may be different for you tomorrow, next year. So the solution is you go sit with your bookkeeper or accountant, you go know your personal, professional, financial goals, and you back into it. That is the ultimate solution because you need to know what you need to make before you even start to hire people or spend money. What do you need to make to live wherever you live or the lifestyle that you've grown accustomed to? We've been talking about this for years. And I've come to the realization now that I'm working with so many folks across the country, every model is different and everybody is different. At some point, I can tell you with Carrie, she outsources folks. I said, Carrie, you got younger people. If you're feeling burned out, outsource it.
You're going to be at the reception tonight?
No, because we got to go to
Can I ask
Sally's.
one more question?
What's that?
I got to go to Sally's.
Okay, are you going to be here tomorrow?
Oh yeah.
All right, Jonathan will be here
till
tomorrow
6 o'clock here.
to answer any questions.
I got 2 minutes. Wait a minute. This
Can I ask
just
one more
says
question?
5.
He'll be here tomorrow.
Question?
I'm a
Go,
numbers
one
guy.
more.
One
Let's
more
go.
question. Make it a good one.
Yeah, so I realized
What's your name?
Anthea from Austin, Texas.
Gail?
Anthea.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Taya.
Anthea.
Anthea.
Anthea from Austin, Texas.
Yes, very
Howdy.
nice to meet you. Howdy.
I'm from Houston.
Nice. So I did a financial audit and I saw that I'm spending $2,600 a month on my business. And that is if I take a new listing, I spend about $1,000 per listing with all the help that I get from it. My question to you is, I have been in the business for 3 years. And right now my green zone is not an area, it's the business where I'm getting it from, which
Sure.
is from my alumni network and from the military. And I really want to get to a higher price point. And the response I get is, well, over time, that will happen. And I really want to increase that price point so that I can make a little bit more money and take vacation. What is your recommendation for doing that as a solo agent,
Charge a full fee.
which I'm already doing?
Charge a full fee.
I'm doing that already. But how do I get more, like,
More what?
higher price point?
You got to open up to it. I'll talk to you about it.
Yeah, he'll talk to you about it.
right.
I'm around. Anybody wants to come visit. Thank you.
Jonathan will be here tomorrow. Thank you, Jonathan.